We've got some.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah. Another week, another epic guest. Today, we're talking to a close friend that has found great success with Facebook ads. So, of course, we had to invite him here to get them Gotham Boulders.
That is 100% correct, my friend. If you are looking to learn how to stop people from scrolling through your content or ads, today's conversation is just for you. Is today's guest the Stop Scrolling King? I don't know. We're going to have to figure that out.
Today's guest is the one responsible for Steve Larson's Facebook ad success. Check this out. Since taking over Steve's ads, they've only dipped under break-even for 1 day. And trust me, he has been there for way longer than just 2 days.
That is right. Please welcome host of Stop Their Scrolling podcast, the Yoda of Facebook ads, or should I say the Italian godfather of Facebook ads, and really good friend, David Cartolano. Wait, you gotta bring him on the stream. You gotta bring him on.
What's up? Oh my gosh. What's up, guys? Listen, I know y'all don't do this in the morning apparently, but you probably should. That's like an espresso shot of coffee. Oh my gosh. What an intro.
Talking about coffee, we got it here as well.
Got it right there, man.
Yeah. Hey, David, I feel like, for that, Fonzie needs to wake up probably like 4 hours earlier because that was a little, we gotta get some traction. We gotta get some traction.
It's good. We gotta start somewhere, right? We gotta start somewhere.
David, we're extremely excited to have you here, man. I mean, this has been long in the making. When we met you at Boise at Steve's event, we started chatting just as, the other guys that were sitting, in that table there. And we were so intrigued with your story and how you got there and the incredible success that you guys have had there with a capitalist pig. And then you surprised everybody and launched a show, which we'll talk, in a few minutes over here. But that has been an incredible resource, I'm sure, for many people, right? So for those who don't really know you and didn't have that conversation with you at the event, who's David, man? Like, who are you, man? How do you end up in these internet marketers' world?
Wow. I mean, I can give you the long story or the very long story, but who I am, Steve hired me a long time ago to just edit YouTube videos and manage funnels. And one day he just turned to me and he said, "We don't have anybody doing ads in-house. Do you want to figure out how to do it?" And I went, "Yeah." I had no idea how to run ads. I've only been running ads since February 2021. And this is being recorded in June 2021. So I haven't been at this game for very long. Wow. But I think what's really important when I stumbled onto internet marketing was when I was originally I was originally studying to be a physical therapist. I was in the medical field, nowhere near marketing. They wouldn't know marketing if it loaded itself in a syringe and injected them in the face. They have no idea what marketing is. They just expect insurance to bring patients in. And I saw this disconnect and I went, why are we doing this? This is bad. This is dumb. So I just started listening to different podcasts and started following entrepreneurs in physical therapy who were teaching clinicians how to market. So to make a very long story short, I started following this one guy. He dropped a mastermind. I joined it. I got into physical therapy school, failed out of physical therapy school, reapplied to get back into physical therapy school, got back in, and then rescinded my application because I realized, wait a minute, I'm not happy. And a lot of people at this school aren't happy. So what am I doing? So I took a year off to build my own business, failed horribly. And then Steve, for some reason, I stayed up late. I waved the lightsaber in one of my videos to get into Steve's team. And he said, "Yeah, man, we'll fly you out and we'll try you out." And they flew me 2,500 miles away from Jacksonville to Boise, Idaho to work with them. And after about 48 hours, we're like, yeah, this is a good fit. You want to move? I'm like, sure, why not? Like, what else do I got? What have I got to lose? So I moved up here and that's it. Steve asked me to run ads and I've just been doing it ever since.
Dude.
Wow, that's amazing, man. And congrats on taking that leap. It must not be easy to, just be like, yeah, sure, let me leave my life back there in Jacksonville and just move to a totally new place where I only know at the moment probably like 3 people, right? The people at the office, and pretty much start from scratch. So congrats on that leap. Is huge. And for me, when we met, I was super surprised when you said you were from Jacksonville. I was like, what? There's no way. I'm like, successful people are just from Canada or from Boise. They are just born in Canada and Boise. Do we have one in Jacksonville
Jacksonville's
too?
moving up on the list.
I know, man.
Dude, David.
But we got to clarify this. Sorry. He's actually from New York.
Yes, exactly.
New York.
New York. Yeah. You're branded now. You're Jacksonvillian now. So I'm sorry. Yeah. David, what I love and I really admire that, like, when you were sharing that story with us when we were there and now listening through like your content, is that you are no shame, unapologetically like, let's go, right? Like, where a lot of people publishing, right, like find a really hard time to be themselves and to be or share the message that their audience needs to hear, right?
You can tell he has something to say.
I
He's
know.
like smiling.
I know. So I'm gonna let you loose with that one.
I think if you're worried about publishing content and revealing who you are, I think it's because you're worrying about what someone else is going to say. And if you are already worried about what someone else is going to say, you've lost. You've lost the game before you've rolled the dice. You're going to put something out there and somebody, I guarantee, is not going to like it. And that's okay. Like, that's part of the game. It's kind of like stepping into a boxing ring and saying like, oh my gosh, am I going to get punched? Yeah, it's a boxing ring. Like, that's just part of it. So I think if you're having trouble finding your voice, I would say build your confidence, go to therapy, figure out why you're stopping yourself from talking and speaking as you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that, and it does take practice at the end of the day too, right? Like, you gotta build that muscle of putting yourself out there and then telling yourself like, ask yourself, why do I care what other people think about me, right? Like, why are their comments affecting me the way there is? And eventually you're going to get to probably the root cause of the issue. And you'll be like, it's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Let me just put more out there, put my message out there, right? I'm curious, have you been like that your entire life? Have you been always... Because, dude, I honestly love your personality, man. You are... When I listen to you talk, I see why Facebook ads, it's a great match for you. The way you craft your headlines and everything is the same way you speak on a day-to-day, right? Like, when you were telling the stories about PT right now, you're like, they cannot see marketing if you inject them with a syringe in their face. Like, that is literally like ads language right there, right? You make it very visual and for people to have a clear image on what it is that is happening or what it is that they can get, etc. Right? So have you always been like this?
Yes, actually. I've always had this, I think I call it a talent. Sometimes it was a problem where if I couldn't get my point across, I would really illustrate it. Because I come from a family with 4 other siblings besides me. So it's like, I have about 10 seconds to get my parents' attention. So I need to really describe the problem here right now and really like sucker punch it. And after a while, my mom's like, do you write these down and practice them? I'm like, no, I just come up with them on the spot. It's nature's little tick for me. Yeah. So it's kind of like I can either say it like everyone else says it and be ignored, or I can put a little juice behind it and get a reaction. And I think being on stage and being a musician, being taking theater in high school and things like that, you learn to read an audience and you say something and you look at their expressions and you see what hits and what doesn't. And after a while, I realized, when I say stuff the way I say it with that really punchy analogy, there's an emotional reaction. Interesting.
Yeah. I love that you go for the reactions, right? And I'm skipping ahead of the conversation here, but in Facebook ads, I'm guessing the reactions are the data, right? The click-through rates, opt-in rates, all that stuff, right? I'm guessing that is your reactions that you're looking at to see whether something is working or not.
Yeah.
This is gonna be maybe a little bit deeper because since it's so ingrained in you, maybe you haven't thought about this. But I'm curious on what is your process, maybe mentally, to come up with these like analogies and headline punchy phrases that you use when talking to people, right?
Yeah. When I'm trying to come up with a headline that really hits, one thing I think about is, again, it's the emotional reaction. Will somebody get this? It's one thing to say, like, oh, ads that sell like hotcakes. It's another thing to say ads that sell like flat screen TVs at Walmart on Black Friday. It conjures an image. And like you guys just smiled, like, because we as a human species, we understand what that means. You know what I'm saying? Like you want to conjure an image or a feeling that immediately it hits home and people get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That just illustrated it so well.
Yeah, by the way, I'm all the notes here, these are gonna turn into like a cheat sheet for headlines that we're just gonna put in front of our screen TVs and be like, okay, if I need to write a headline, I need to run it through David's framework. What is David's framework? So that's my next question.
Or we can probably get his 10 commandments, right?
Or we can get the 10 commandments.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, we need to talk about because there's something they're super curious when I first found out about them that they were not free. But anyways, we're going to leave that in a second on why they're not free. But what is your framework, David? Like, do you run everything through a framework or like what you just told us? Like, hey, naturally, I've always had to kind of evolve to the point where everything that I say has to conjure an image because I got to paint the picture for people to understand me faster, in a better way, and I can get what I want, right? Whatever you're asking. So is there a framework or is this something that you build over time naturally?
Absolutely. With everything, there is a framework. I've gone out of my way to study rich dead advertisers. Like Steve Larson, my boss, he studies rich dead marketers. I study rich dead advertisers because they follow frameworks that have worked for the past, 120 years. It works. There's a reason why there are frameworks. It's framework. It's in the word. It works. Yeah. So, yes, do I get to be creative and be David? Yes, but I also have to do that on top of what's compliant with Facebook. And I also have to make sure I don't violate the frameworks of these rich dead advertisers because they know more than I do. All right. They did it way longer before I was even born. So I'm going to follow and trust what they do.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I know Steve is a fan of like Claude Hawkins. What was the name of the guy that did the Dove commercial?
David Ogilvy.
David Ogilvy.
P.T. Barnum.
P.T. Barnum. Yeah. So like really old school marketers. What are those rich dad advertisement? Wow, that was a rough one. Advertising people.
David, this is why we don't do morning shows.
That's why we don't do morning shows.
Yeah, I'm curious. I want to know, like, what's your influence? Like, who are these people, these frameworks that you study?
Absolutely. Pretty much, I mix the old and the new. So obviously, Claude Hopkins, David Ogilvy, and P.T. Barnum. I follow those dead ones very, very well. There are other people that I might get into later, but I also follow Frank Kern religiously. I follow people that run ads for a living. I think that's the difference. Bridget Brooks is incredible. She's an ex-Facebook employee, and she knows how to run ads like a ninja. Like, I'm okay. She's incredible. Wow. Sema Urzuki. All these names that you don't know because they're not, like, I hate to say it, but they're not trying to sell a $9.97 course because they ran ads for 3 months. There are people that actually do it day in, day out. Yeah. So you follow those people. So that's what I've just been doing. I've just been following those people.
I love it. I just think about the days where we used to play soccer, right? When our dream was to be a professional soccer player. And I mean, you don't go to the local park to watch the grown man playing over there, right? Like you actually go on YouTube and search for your favorite soccer player, and then you go and try to imitate what they're doing, right? I mean, to model after what they're doing. And honestly, that's how we learned a lot of what we know, right? Yeah. We were like, okay, what is our professional soccer players doing? oh, this is so cool. Let me go. Let me make my brother and be the better brother at soccer. And that's how it went, pretty much.
I think, David, this is such an important part of the conversation because, you know, this could save years for somebody that's trying to make it, right? Or if they have a business, try to execute on this, because for us, we were victims of that shiny object syndrome for many, many years, right? We were victims of the bro marketer, right? Like, we will go out and we will think that there were so many things out there that, you know, that the tricks and the hacks and the things and everything, because the marketing message and because it's so attractive and they you know, they target the pain, and we were in pain at the time, right? It was so much pain.
Yeah.
And by the way, guys, like, the pain doesn't go away. Like, it continues. Like, as you evolve, it's just different levels of challenges that we face. But at the time, right, like, you are the victim, or these things like whatever, like $37 courses or whatever, and you don't really know who's behind this, right? Or if they're even talking about principles. And that's why we've made it a point where everything that we put out there, like the workshop, the 45 Live, you know, even the show, the frameworks that we talk about on the show, is everything is principle based, and that's very dear to Fonzie, right? And we love it, right? And we've been able to create like our own language, our own frameworks, our own things on how we've been able to do it based off of things that have been working over time. So I want, you know, the listener, like, if you're in that spot, like if you are there and you're like, yes, I've been a victim of that too, you know, hey, I've been falling into that too. Go and try to find that person that has done it for a long time, like David has done, right? With all these incredible, you know, rich dead marketers. Who are the rich dead people that you can learn from, right? That have done it for such a long time. Like, have that question in there.
So there's some alive too.
There's some alive
Frank
too,
Kern, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. That's the second half. Absolutely. Who's that? Who are those people that have been doing it for so long, right? And like you said, David, for a living. I think that's an incredible filter on how to gauge who are you gonna be taking information from and then apply it to your own thing. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Like, there's so many things that comes to mind, right? And when we talk about studying people, the phrase of you need the 10,000 hours to master something comes to mind, right? I recently kind of like came across the phrase that somebody was like, you don't need the 10,000 hours. You can actually leverage somebody else's 10,000 hours to speed up your process. And I was like, oh, that is so smart. That is so cool, right? I mean, maybe pre-internet, you needed the 10,000 hours, right? Or let's say 5,000, because the access to information, right, was minimal at that point compared to what it is today. Literally today, you just Google anything and you can learn whatever you want. The only excuse is probably yourself stopping it from doing it, from taking action, right? So I want to get into that place right there of leveraging other people's 10,000 hours, because I think the person listening right now can, you know, they can benefit from that, right? How can they leverage your 10,000 hours, David, right? To learn and get better on their Facebook ads. So what was the first thing that you started to look for when you started the process of learning Facebook ads, right? Because I'm telling you, I got it. I was in that world. I was very overwhelmed. There's a lot of things, right? I mean, top of funnel, middle funnel, retargeting ads, copy, just so many different elements that fit in that box. So what is the right first step for somebody that is, you know, that they want to start running these ads?
Sure. I think the right first step, I'll answer that. There's a short answer and a long answer. So the right first step is just taking one and saying, oh, I don't know where to start. Okay, start somewhere. Just start. Like, that's what happened. Steve asked me to run ads. I don't know where I was going to start. I had a few ideas of a few people to buy courses from and a few places to look on the internet, but I had no idea. So I just started with what I knew. Okay, what are the principles of advertising? Not the strategies, not the tactics, principles, top level principles. And what I did was I said, okay, well, there are people who've been writing ads for over a century now, and they've generated literally billions of dollars in today's currency from doing it even before the internet. Okay, what do I need to know? What do I need to understand? I do need to understand copy to some degree, because copy is what converts. All right. Obviously, creative is great because it stops the scrolling. And for all you listening, creative is like the picture or the video. Copy is what's written in the ad or what you are saying in your video, right? You don't just say random stuff. You don't just write random stuff. There's like psychological processes that you have to check off in other people's heads to make them make a decision whether or not to download like a lead magnet or get a low ticket item. You know, there's frameworks and principles. So that's what I did. I set out to understand copywriting principles. I read Ray Edwards, you know, Jim Edwards. His dad was an amazing copywriter. I hope that's his dad. I think it's his dad. But yeah, I read his book. I took another course on Facebook ads, and I was lucky that this guy, Terry Dean, who was an internet marketer for 25 years, he like since 1996, and he had 5 copywriting principles. I'm like, oh, sweet. Let me just write them down and then just apply them to my ads. And I still do that to this day. And if you guys want, I can share that with you right now, because you guys should probably be putting it in your organic content as well.
Yeah.
You know,
let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do it. We're not holding back any punches right here, man. We got the boxing gloves on and we're ready to punch each other with principles and marketing, you know?
Woo!
I don't want to punch you, man. I love you. He's so aggressive, David. Some days.
It's the morning. I'm too pumped up right now.
You're too pumped up. It's the coffee, huh? Yeah, but I would say, so the 5 things, I'll make it really quick because Terry Dean also made it really quick, really simple. In a direct response ad or in a piece of content, because sometimes I follow this principle in my content as well.
Yeah.
First step, problem. What's the big problem, crisis that people need to change, right? Yeah. Problem, promise. What's your promise, your unique promise that says, hey, I can solve this problem? Your proof, because people want to see that stuff works. So like whether that's a 5-star review, whether you say, hey, take a look at this product. I filmed a course of me, I filmed a video of me going through this course to see like, yeah, it's actually real. So problem, promise, proof, irresistible offer. So what makes it so good? What's the reason to act now? Do you have a guarantee on it? And by the way, you should always have a guarantee. And then your reason to act now. Your reason to act now is, hey, this product's in beta, so you know, the price will never be this low. And obviously be ethical with this. You know, a lot of people, they'll put like a timer on their ClickFunnels page and be like, yeah, it's ending in 5 days. Yeah, sure, bro. Yeah, okay. But like actually have a reason to act now. And that could even be like, hey, I'm testing these ads and I don't know, and this might be the last time you see this ad. So this might be your last opportunity, right? And that's an ethical way of saying it. So that's it. That's Terry Dean right there. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm not as smart as you. So you're making me look good. So again, it's just problem, promise, proof, irresistible offer, reason to act now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Golden boulder moment.
Golden boulder moment. That is right. That was absolutely amazing. And there's 2 points in here that, you know, I want to shine some light into. First is ethically, right? Do it ethically. I think it is, I mean, I don't think like everybody knows it is so easy just to not be ethical when running this type of campaigns, right? Like, and you see it a lot of times, unfortunately, right? But it's like what you're saying is like, hey, this course is going out in 5 days. And it's like, dude, in 2 weeks, you see it again. And it's like, wait, what? Wasn't it going out forever, right? So I think finding a way to do it in an ethical way is extremely important, right? Because how you get customers on board is how you're going to fulfill them. And if you're doing that on your front end, I mean, I can't even imagine what you're going to be doing in the back end, right?
Absolutely.
So extremely important point right there. I think the guarantee, that applies for the guarantee as well. Because a lot of people get carried away and they put some crazy guarantees that at the end of the day is they don't actually implement either, right? So be careful with those stuff, but be aware that you need them as part of these principles, right? Have them in your campaign because they move people from I don't know to a decision, right? And that's what we want. We want them to take a decision, whether that is yes or no, because yes, amazing, they're in our course now, they're part of our community. If they say no, it's data, right? Now we're reading their reactions, right? We're going back to what we were talking about. We're reading their reactions. We know, why didn't they convert? And then we can go back to the drawing board and put in the work. The other thing that I want to shine a light to, and this flew very under the radar. You said it so quickly. You talked about, I'm going to make these principles simple because I forgot the name of the guy. Sorry. This guy made them simple as well. Right? it doesn't have to be complex. Like that is
No.
one of the biggest. Oh, like I don't. It's not even a discovery. Like I just feel like people feel that something has to be complex for it to be important. And honestly,
my
now I'm like,
gosh.
just give me simplicity, man. Like I want like 2-3 minute videos when I join a course that is telling me exactly the principle that I need to learn, not just the tactic and the height. Like, what is that principle? Explain it to me simple that I can understand and use him long term in whatever solution it is I'm trying to implement, right? And you just did that right now. Literally in like 2 minutes, you explain 5 key frameworks that people can use for the rest of their life. The rest of their life when creating content or running ads. So, and I saw your expression. You get a little excited about simplicity and
Gosh,
complexity, right?
yeah.
Can you share a little bit why that reaction on you?
Absolutely. You're giving me like flashbacks to back when I was in medical university because everything they wanted to make complicated. Now it's physical therapy, all right? It's not heart surgery, okay? It's like, oh, what method should we use on the hip? I don't know, test one and see if the patient likes it or not. They didn't like that answer. They're like, oh no, but we need to do this. We need to try this and then go for this. And then we're gonna explain to them all this with all these syllables. I'm like, stop. Why don't we just ask the patient, like, hey, we're gonna do this one thing with you. Does it hurt or not? And then you just go forward and you make decisions like that because the patient doesn't care. They don't care about how smart you are, and neither does the customer. People don't care about how smart you are and like, oh, here's my 36-step process. Oh, BS, man. No one's going to sit around for that. Nobody. I mean, how? And you're like, well, but it's a special process. Wait. Okay. Do you remember back when you were in school and you were just sitting and you were so bored in class and you wanted to rip your eyes out because you were so bored and the teacher just kept droning on and on and on and on? Yeah, that's what you're doing to your customers when you make things complicated. All right. You're not even scaring them. You're boring them. And if you're boring people, you might as well not advertise anything. Don't be boring. That's like a number one rule.
Yeah. I love it, man. Like this.
Yeah. I've been taking everything in, man, David. I love it because, you make it so entertaining. And that's, that's one of those elements in there as well. And I don't know if that's by design or that's just because that's who you are. I truly believe that's really who you are. And then you've been able to leverage it for what you do today. And now by understanding those principles.
But you know what I think is more important that like, well, what I see in my eyes, my perception of just who you are is that you understood who you are and how you can use that to leverage it, right? Because I think
that's exactly what I was just saying, dude. Thank you for cutting my.
I stole your thunder.
David, I have no power in this house. When I talk, my brother interrupts me. My wife, no power, nothing. That's why we started a show, but I guess that's not happening anymore. So it's okay.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
I know that's all crazy. No, but Fonzie is absolutely right. Like, and that's why I've been like sitting here and taking everything in. And as you guys were chatting, I'm going through your landing page, and I freaking love it. I'm like, David, we might have Fonzie. We might need to rethink our content is profit homepage, and we're just gonna ask for permission. Be like, David, can we use some of these principles, right, to do it ourselves? Because that's the beauty of it, right? So, and again, like I just feel with your story, what you've done, it inspires belief, right? Not only in us, but in anybody that wants to take on this journey, right? Because from physical therapy to now, running this incredible media buying, ecosystem with Steve Larsen, for example, and the incredible impact that you guys are creating in such a short period of time because you figure it out. You're like, you made the decision to figure it out, right? You made the decision to figure out. I remember one of the last episodes that I heard from your show was like how this kid made $2,000 without even like, I can't remember the headline exactly.
Oh my gosh, without a business, yeah.
Without a business,
yeah.
Mind blowing, right? Because the solution at the end of the day is so simple, right? So, do you want to walk us real quick through that story? Because I think it's so important. Because when and Fonzie is looking at me like, what the heck is he talking about? I'm gonna throw him on the bus.
Now I'm curious.
He's like, he hasn't heard the episode, but it's at the end of the day, that is the solution. That is exactly how we, went from broke, recently out of college to running a business, having a team, and growing, right? So can you walk us through that story? I think it's so valuable.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it's diving into my origin story a little bit, which I said out of order in the beginning of the show. But what happened was, so I was listening to obviously I was listening to a bunch of physical therapists who were in entrepreneurship and who were talking about marketing. And I was getting to know one very, very well. His name is Greg Todd. He is my first entrepreneurial influence in my life. So GT, if you're listening to this, you're the man. Thank you. And what happened is I got into PT school. So like I said it a bit out of order in the beginning, but I got into PT school. I failed out of PT school. I went to Greg's event. And what happened is he had a mastermind that he was pitching. And I'm like, well, I want a business. I want to have my own clinic, but I also want to have my own personal training thing on the side. Typical entrepreneur in the beginning. It's like you want to do everything and that gets you nowhere. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to get into this mastermind. And he said the price and I went, okay. How do I do it? Because I don't have that money on me. I don't have that in my bank account. I had like maybe a couple $100s in my bank account and I had to put down a $2,000 deposit. And I had 24 hours to figure it out. And I remember saying to myself, I was sitting there and I'm like, if I don't get into this, I will regret it for the rest of my life. So I went nuts. I was like going on Lending Tree. I'm like, how do I get the $2,000? How do I get the $2,000? I wasn't going to ask my parents because they'd be like, what do you need it for? And I'd be like, business stuff. And they'd be like, no. So I'm like, how am I going to do this? I could sell my guitar. Wait, that's going to take a week. Like, I can't do that. Like, how am I going to find these $2,000? So what I did was I said, okay, after maybe about 12 hours of just trying to figure it out and going to bed feeling rejected and dejected, I'm like, oh, crap, like I need to make this work. I finally said, you know what? I'm going to ask the richest person in the room for money because the worst they can say is no. And Myron Golden happened to be speaking at that event. So I said, you know what? Do it, David. Do it. So I got up, I walked over and I said, okay, man, you got 2 questions. You're going to ask him 2 questions. I walked over and Myron saw me like struggling at the event, like trying to figure out and like make all the numbers work. And he said, hey, David, how are you doing? And I said, hey, Myron, I got a question for you. He said, okay, sure. And I said, if you give me $2,000 to join this mastermind, can I pay you back $3,000? And I saw the look on his face and he just went, no, man, no, like I'm not going to do that. I'm like, okay, great. I got to the no quickly. That's what I expected. But what I really wanted the answer to was the second question. And that question was, if you were in my situation, what would you do to get the $2,000? And that was almost like the question he was waiting for because his face lit up and he went, okay, David, here's what you do. You find somebody at this conference who is richer than you, who has a business, and you get them to invest in you. That's it. And you give them a percentage of your company. And I went, okay. And he said, yeah, I gave a percentage of my company away to some guy and like for X amount of dollars. And now he's rolling in it. So that's what you do. And I went, okay, cool. And I almost like jetted off and he went, David. And I went, yeah. He said, I believe in you. And I went, thank you. So I ran and I'm like, okay, cool. I think I have 3 people in mind that I can pull this off. One of them I had recently met. I only met him twice in my life before. But I thanked him. I made a good impression on him. Like I Dream 100 him hard. And I went up to him before he was talking at the event and I pitched him and I said, hey, like I didn't know what to say. There was no script. There was nothing. I just wanted it. And I got it to his no really quickly. And he was speaking and he almost said no. And then I said, hey, and listen, if you say no, it's no problem. It doesn't affect our relationship at all. I still really believe in you. And thank you so much for what you do. So it's no problem. His face softened and he said, okay, cool. Talk to me after my speech. I'm like, that's a yes. So I ran back to my seat and I started like scribbling out a contract that I found on Rocket Lawyer, which isn't legal. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. But eventually I came back, he saw the contract, he made a few edits to it and he gave me his credit card and I went, and that's how I got $2,000 to join a mastermind with no business. I had nothing. I knew that I had to make it happen.
I knew I had to make it happen, dude.
Wow.
And I know
What a great story.
Fonzie's mind blown right now. And when I heard that story, by the way, your storytelling abilities, dude, like incredible too. Because
Yeah.
I was in that room with you, going through, going to ask Myron, and there's a few elements in here that I love. It's like, and I read it here, like how to always get a yes to your question, and it's like I need to get to the no as fast as possible, and that's exactly what you did with Myron. I'm like, okay, sweet. That's a golden boulder right there. That's, how do we get to it no as fast as possible? And then the second one, obviously, we need to ask for it, man. And like your mind, your mind space where you were sitting in that, and then you saw that offer coming your way, and you're like, how do I actually get this money? It's like, I can't, right? Because most people are gonna sit there and be like, I only have $200 in my bank account. I'm just gonna sit here, I'm gonna probably take what I've learned, and I'm doing air quotations here in this event, and then I'm gonna implement. We all know that doesn't happen, man. Like, you go to an event and then you're all hyped up. You come back for a week. You might try one or two things, and then there's no systems, there's no processes, and everything falls through the cracks. And guess what? You're back at the spot where you were before. This exact same thing, David. This exact same thing happened to us at Offermind years ago with Steve. We were sitting in the right there, like right in front of the stage. Right, he pitches. It was $25,000 here, his entire offer. We were betting how much this thing was. We were like, this is going to be $5,000. No, it was 5 times more. And we are like, okay, I just took, a personal loan to be able to do this full time. There's no money. We're in debt. Like, how do we actually pay for this? The answer was not if it was not like, do we do it or we don't? Like, how do we actually do it? And it was absolutely nerve-wracking, right? And I'm sure everybody listening had a situation like that before, where they are faced with this. But you have another episode, like, if you really want to do it, you're actually going to figure out the way to do it, right? To do it. If you're not doing it, it's because you don't really want to do it. So we're like, okay, how do we actually do this? And I remember standing up, and it was also through Myron's was up there repitching, and he was the guy that, basically pushed us to execution. But we grabbed this sheet, right? And we go to Colton, and we're like, dude, guess what? We don't have the entire, $25,000 today. What can we do to get started, right? And he gave us a solution. He's like, hey, here's a few scenarios where we can, move forward with it. And we did. And it was probably one of the best decisions that we've ever, made in our life. Like, probably yours to that one, right? Because that was a step in the journey to what you're doing today. So absolutely. I want to encourage everybody that if you are listening right now, go ahead. Like, what was that moment? Have you had it? Like, if you had it, share with us. Let us know, because those are incredible stories that need to be shared, because it shows that you're brave. It shows that you're resourceful. It shows that you want to actually go execute. And, if you want to learn anything about this, David's incredible lessons on Facebook ads, we just scroll down, click the links. We're going to mention them in just a second. If you want to talk with us about content in general and multi-purposing and turning content into profit, just go to contentsprofit.com, because these are the principles and these are the things that we like to share with you. So
yeah, I think you got a very important point in here that, again, might have flown under the radar, and is you talk about the inspiration, right? How people go to these events and they get so inspired, and then 2 weeks later, nothing. They're back right where they were before the events, right? And we actually, thanks to Steve, and not because of he motivated us and then we didn't do nothing. No, but because he taught us this, we kind of like started hating a little bit on the word like motivation, right?
Oh my gosh. No.
It's like, it's not the motivation, right? It's about discipline, right? And that is one of the biggest areas in my life that I'm, trying to work on right now, is that discipline, because discipline will always triumph over motivation. But the other day I read something that challenge my belief a little bit, and I absolutely love it, and I think it's pretty cool, right? And this phrase is from, his name is Naval Ravikant. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but he is the founder of a very well-known website called Angel List, where people go and do investment deals and whatnot. This guy is extremely wealthy, but he is recognized, honestly, in the I'm not gonna say just the Silicon Valley culture, but he is a huge investor. He's a thinker. His stuff is great. I definitely recommend it. And he said, inspiration is perishable. Act on it immediately. Right? And I was like, that is so good, because a lot of people get inspired, and what they do is they get in planning mode. It's like, I'm so inspired. Okay, let me plan what I'm going to do. when action taking time comes in, they don't do anything.
Yeah.
You instead were inspired and you act upon it, right? You were like, I'm just gonna take action right now, right? Like, imagine what if you would have, like, what would have happened if you would have leave asking Myron for a week after the event? You would have psyched yourself out probably, right? Like in that week, you're like, oh, should I not? I don't know what to do now. Now I'm nervous. All of a sudden, you didn't do anything. You're back where you started. So I think there, not to talk about balance per se, but I think when we recognize these moments where we're inspired to do something, we should probably be a little bit reactive in that moment and do it right there. Like there's so many times that I am in the middle of the night, like this would be a great content piece. Guess what? I should probably just grab my phone and write it down right there. Because if not, it's just gonna go on the to-do list and the infinity and never to be written. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So act on that inspiration, but at the same time, focus on developing the discipline to stay consistent over long periods of time. So just wanted to bring that point up because it's key. I see that as a principle for building a successful business, right? Is about having that discipline over long periods of time.
David, couple last questions as we wrap up the show, man. And we wish we could have like 5 more hours. So we're gonna have to do a part 2, part 3, part 4, like a series, just David series. What would be like a good action point for somebody that's, you know, starting their business? That is, maybe they have a side gig and they're, you know, trying to learn all these things so they can actually go out and do their passionate business that they want to do, right? They're starting to publish. What is one action point that they can do today to move the needle forward and get momentum?
Oh my gosh, market research. And that's not like the cute little like ninja secret hack, like, oh, market research, but David, that sounds boring. Yes, it is. Do it. Don't just say, I have this great idea and I'm just gonna push it out there. No. How about call me crazy? Why don't you just look at the problems happening in the marketplace and find a solution? It's kind of like saying, like, if your aunt ever gave you a birthday present that you definitely didn't want, it's like, oh, thanks for the sweater, Aunt Martha, and you're never going to wear it. What if Aunt Martha actually asked you, hey, what do you want for your birthday? And you said a $25 Amazon gift card, because that's what we give nowadays. And she went, sweet. And on your birthday, she gave it to you. Now you're happy with Aunt Martha because she gave you what you wanted, and she's happy because she provided a solution to you, and she didn't have to look for it for 10 hours. She just asked you what you wanted. So please, do your market research, whether you are, and by the way, this is the first step to running ads. It's also the first step to, I think, anything in business. Figure out what people want. All right. Let them pay with their wallet and say, hey, I'm going to offer like a little thing. And if people aren't buying, offer to do it for free and see if you can get customers and get results for them. And if you can't even do that, then maybe you're not in the right industry. Maybe you should find something that people are like really, really, really into and they have a problem with, and you can solve it. Like, please listen to the market. It will tell you everything you need to know. You don't need to know all the fancy targeting tricks and stuff like that on Facebook ads. If like 90% of it is just messaging. That's it.
Oh, I love it. And just let me tell you, sorry for interrupting here, but I love the Aunt Martha analogy. I think is one of the best analogies I've heard about problem solution, you know, pretty much. Like it just is so clear. The image that got to my mind was Harry Potter. You know, when they give the Weasleys the sweaters,
right?
And they're like, "Oh, thank you, mom." And it's like, they're just like horrible sweaters. Wow, it's a great analogy that illustrates exactly how the customer probably feels when, you know, you're not talking to them and you're not addressing the message to them.
David, I'm gonna you know, grab this clip and I'm gonna send it to my wife because, you know, Father's Day is coming. I think by the time we're recording this is Father's Day, so I'm like, hey baby, you know, just start doing your market research. By the way, I've been doing market research with it. I'm like, babe, I want a PS5. You know,
I thought you were gonna say I want a bike.
Well, the bike is coming later, but I'm like, babe, I want a PS5. I don't know why I haven't gotten a PS5 yet. I'm just saying. I'm kidding.
Right?
Maybe it's coming. I don't know. I love you, Katie.
I wonder if she's still in the room right next to us, listening to this entire thing right now. Probably. No, I love it, David. Dude, thank you so much, and I love the way that you simplified it. Right, like when people hear market research, they
freak out. And I know it because I was the guy that would freak out. I'm like, where do I even start? Well, you gave us the solution, right? Look at the problems happening in your market and find the solution. That's it. Easy peasy. Easy peasy. Like, thank you for simplifying that. All right. Last question, David. And I might have to reframe it a little bit for your situation, but I love how you ended up in this world, right? So where will you be, if you did not publish? And by publish, I saw a face reaction. Go.
Where would I be if I didn't publish? Nowhere at all. Period. I wouldn't be with Steve. I wouldn't be. I have my own side thing that Steve lets me do. I wouldn't be getting the clients that I had if I didn't publish. I'd be nowhere. And this is a quote from P.T. Barnum. Shout out to Steve. But P.T. Barnum said, without promotion, something terrible happens. Nothing. Mm-hmm. If you expect people to come to you because you're so important and your product is so good, people are just going to waltz up to you. You're living in a fantasy world. Publish. Why? It works.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'm writing down. If you're listening to this and all of a sudden we are all quiet, is because we are literally taking notes at this moment.
Yeah. And if you have a show or something, like, figure out a way on how to take, obviously it's two of us right now, so logistically it can happen because as Fonzie writes things, this is little notepad in here, so cute. I can create conversation and
just so you know, it is proven that writing by hand is better to create neural pathways. Remember the information, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong, David, but they say when you
are gonna put him in the middle of this pick a bro fight?
Absolutely. When you're learning copywriting, they tell you that you have to rewrite those letters of famous sales letter by hand, word for word, because it's gonna, get in your head. It's gonna teach you, baby.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna side with him. I write it all down by pen. It's all pen, man.
Let's go.
Boy, it's okay.
Boy, I'll gift you a pen and
bro,
this.
It's okay. My iPad.
I'm gonna be his Aunt Martha. He's like, bro, I didn't want this.
I know. I didn't want this. Just give me a PS5. Okay. Anyways, David, dude, where can people find you? Where can people connect with you? Where can people go learn from you?
Absolutely. So you can find me just on Facebook. You just type in David Cartolano, Cartolano. And if you really liked what I'm talking about, you like how I break stuff down simply, you can also go to stoptheirscrolling.com to get my 10 commandments of social media ads. These are just principles. This is what I've learned. It's held true. It used to be $1. Now it's free. Literally last night. Because I'm like, you know what? Let's just build the list. Let's give value first. So the 10 commandments are like, David, what's in those? Well, it's the number one reason why people fail with social media ads. It's the simple secret to running social media ads without getting banned. It's the easiest way to track your social media ads performance, and my method to only writing 1 to 5% of my ads, keeping that all open loop. So go to stoptheirscrolling.com. Download it, and it's completely free. And I guarantee it so much. If you aren't satisfied within 14 days, I will personally pay you $1 back. That's how much I really believe in this. Dude. So go ahead and grab it today.
Okay, I just gotta say, you literally just hit on all the 5 principles that you mentioned before, right? The problem, right? I mean, people struggling with their Facebook ads. What is your promise? Those 10 commandments are gonna help you run successful Facebook ads. The proof, you are the proof. You use them to be in the situation where you are right now. Irresistible offer, baby. I mean, 10 commandments. What else do you need, right? That's all the 10 principles that you need to move your Facebook ads adventure forward. And reason to act now, it was, I'll give you $1. I'll give you $1 if you don't like it. And I'm not gonna lie, I might have to steal that guarantee. I love the guarantee.
Go for it. Yeah.
It's so good.
By the way, David, I loved when you first launched it, I think it was with your show, that people had to pay, and maybe this is I think for a different episode. And I love how you adapt, right? Like, hey, I receive feedback. now let's do this, right? And then you'll probably adapt as well. Like once you do this, let's do this, right? It's like adding and taking these little Lego pieces as you create your beautiful machine. And I freaking love that. So yeah, David, you might be seeing contentisprofit.com a little bit different after this episode. Just gonna point that out. Thank you so much for your incredible lessons. Thank you so much for your principles. Thank you so much for your stories.
Thank you so much for your friendship, bro.
For your
I
friendship.
Seriously.
So yeah, when we're in Boise, we have some. We have to plan a whole month over there, man.
I
With
know.
all the adventures.
Yeah, we gotta hang out.
Yeah, for sure. We gotta go hang out.
I know. Just set us up like a little corner right there in the Capitol's pig, den, and we'll do the show out there. We're good
I love
to go.
it. We'll just do it right here in my office. It's all good.
Let's
Sounds
go.
good. Thank you.
Sweet.
Anything else you want to add, David, before we head out?
Yeah, it's never gonna be perfect, so just do it.
Yes, bro. You just like uppercut, just hit it right in the face right there with that one. That is so important right there. Just take action and be okay with not even failing. We call it now testing, right? You're just testing what's working and what's not.
Yeah,
That's it. Just keep testing stuff, and eventually you're gonna make money. It's that simple.
Absolutely.
easy peasy. David, again, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. With that said, thank you guys so much for tuning to the Content Profit Podcast. Go ahead and follow the show in your favorite platform and on social media at BeastBrosCo.
That is right. And if David blew your mind, which I am sure he did, and helps you get one step closer to your goal, make sure you share this episode and leave a 5-star review. See ya.
Bye, guys.